buckle up, buttercups, because there's a rant coming. There's a rant coming, and I'm in the mood to piss people off by calling them out on their bullshit. Because ain't nobody else gonna do it, so it might as well be me. Because I'm here for you. I do this for you. It's just the kind of guy I am. Now, I want to add a disclaimer for anybody. So if you're new to this channel and you're not used to me, I want to warn you that I'm gonna be doing something that you're not used to, which is I'm going to be telling you the truth as opposed to pandering to you morons and just telling you what you want to hear. So that might be a little confusing for you if you're not used to my channel, but hopefully you'll be able to get used to it. Now, the topic I want to cover, the topic that set me off, is I've been seeing some videos and tweets and comments of people, people complaining about, oh, the state of the MCU. How did the MCU get so bad? How come the MCU is failing at this point? What's wrong with it? What happened? Where did it go wrong? And okay, here's the thing though. Much like when I point out the brain dead bullshit stupid in these movies and TV shows you all like, because the bullshit stupid is so interconnected, I can't talk about one brain dead bullshit stupid without referencing another brain dead bullshit stupid. That's going to happen with this because I can't talk about the brain dead bullshit stupid of the topic I want to cover without it being interconnected with a whole bunch of other brain dead bullshit stupid. But I'm going to try and focus just on, talking about the state of the MCU and how it got this way. So, so for all of you wondering, what happened to the MCU? What went wrong? What's the problem? Now, I understand some of you have come up with your lame ass bullshit theories, and I'll probably get to those. But I thought I'd actually explain to you what the actual reason is and who is the group that's actually responsible for what the state of the MCU as it is today. And that would be all of you guys. All of you bitching and complaining about the MCU, you're the problem. You're the reason. You and everybody else. That and the fact that you're all full of shit. The fact that you're all bullshit artists. Let me explain. I'll start off with how the state of the MCU is actually all of your fault. When I mean all of your fault, all of you, those of you bitching and complaining about the MCU. You see, a funny thing is that a lot of you, all of you, not a lot of you, all of you have conveniently forgotten that when you started watching the MCU movies, you were a bunch of kids. You were kids. You were like, what, 9, 10, 12? You were a teenager. You went into the MCU movies as a general audience, as a casual. And that's what these movies, that's what their target audience was. The target audience for these MCU movies were not comic book fanboys. They were meant to, appeal to them or appease them or whatever. But the target audience for these comic book movies were who you were when you first started watching the MCU movies, the general audience and casuals. Because guess what? The target audience for comic book movies are not comic book fanboys any more than the Fast and Furious, any more than street racers are the target audience for the Fast and Furious movies. Any more than people who play Dungeons and Dragons were the target audience for the Dungeons and Dragons movie. That's not how it works. Because that target audience that you're thinking that it is too small to make 500, 800 million. You think there's enough D&D fanboys that the Dungeons and Dragons movie was going to make $1 billion? Not going to happen. Do you think there was enough comic book fanboys that Iron Man, the first Iron Man movie, was going to make $1 billion? No, morons. So the target audience for any movie, no matter what genre, no matter what IP, will always be the general audience, will always be the casuals, which is what all of you were when the MCU first started. Now, a funny thing happened along the way. Some of you, not a lot of you, but some of you actually became comic book fanboys. A lot of you became what passes for comic book fanboys, because nowadays you can actually be considered a comic book fanboy and not actually read comic books. Go figure. But here's the thing. You see, you used to watch these MCU movies through the lens of a casual, through the lens of the general audience. The thing is that now you no longer view these movies through the same lens. You now view these movies through the lens of a comic book fanboy, or in most cases, what passes for a comic book fanboy. The thing is, the movies are still geared to casuals and the general audience. The MCU movies did not change their target audience. You changed, not the movies. So when you're seeing, now that you're comic book fanboys, or what passes for fake comic book fanboys for the majority of you, you are not looking at it through the same lens that the movie is targeting, which is why you're noticing all of these problems, which is why you're noticing all of these issues. Now, how does that have to do with anything? Well, you see, the other thing that you forgot is that when you were a casual, when you were the general audience, you were telling Disney, or no, Marvel Studios, what you wanted in a comic book movie. You told Disney for years, you have been telling, before you all suddenly decided to become comic book fanboys, before you all decided to become these high and mighty, pretending that you know what the hell you're talking about bullshit artists, you were telling Disney what you wanted in a comic book movie. You wanted action, you wanted big action scenes, you wanted big special effects, and you wanted big spectacular scenes. And Disney went, great, we'll give it to you. At the same time, you also told Disney what you didn't give a rat's ass about when it came to comic book movies. And what you didn't give a rat's ass about was story, plot, anything making sense, any level of cohesion, or characters. That's what you told Disney. You told Disney, you can literally do whatever the hell you want. You don't have to worry about story. The story doesn't even have to make any sense. It's irrelevant to you guys. The plot doesn't even have to make any sense to you guys. The story can be filled with brain dead stupid. Don't worry about it. And that's what you told Disney for years, for 10 plus years. That's what you told Disney. And Disney went, great. You are not, Disney's going, all of you complaining about what's happening to the MCU. For the last 10 plus years, you told Disney, you can do whatever you want. We don't care. Hell, you can do movies with characters we don't even give a rat's ass about. You can make superhero movies of Marvel characters. Not only do we not know, but don't give a damn about, and we'll still watch them. None of you gave a rat's ass or knew or cared about Captain Marvel. Y'all still went to go see it. None of you knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were or cared about the Guardians of the Galaxy. Guess what? You still went to go see it. None of you gave a rat's ass or knew who Ant-Man was. Guess what? Y'all still went to go see it. Shang-Chi. I can give you a dozen. I can give you every Marvel MCU movie. Because remember, right now, you know who these characters are. But back in the beginning, you didn't know jack shit about any of these characters. Your introduction to these characters wasn't because you were reading comic books and you knew who these characters were. Your introduction to Iron Man was the Iron Man movie. Your introduction to the Hulk was the movie. Your introduction to Hawkeye and Black Widow were the movies. Okay? So you didn't know any of these characters, and you didn't care that you didn't know any of these characters. The only thing you guys cared about for the last 10 plus years was as long as it had an MCU logo at the beginning of the movie, you were in. You were in. That was it. You didn't give a shit. You didn't care how stupid it was. You didn't care how ridiculous it was. You didn't care if the plot sucked. You didn't care if the story sucked. You didn't give a damn. All you cared about was it had good action scenes, good special effects, and with a big spectacular. Because the only sin Disney could do with the MCU movies was the movie couldn't be boring. The movie couldn't be boring. That was the only limitation you had. Because that's why the majority of you hated the Eternals movie. Because it was boring. That's why so many of you hated the Ant-Man movies, like the first two Ant-Man movies, especially the first one. What was the big action fight scene in the first Ant-Man movie? Two little miniature guys fighting on top of a Thomas the Tank Engine train. That was the only sin that Disney, the MCU movies, could have. Everything else you told Disney was on the table. You didn't care. As long as it wasn't boring, it didn't matter because you didn't care. So, but here's the thing. The MCU movies are still following the same formula that you asked them to do in the goddamn first place. All of a sudden, you're going, why are they making movies of Marvel characters we don't care about? Hey, morons, they've always been making movies of Marvel characters you didn't care about. And what did you all do? You went to go see them anyway. None of you gave a rat's ass about Guardians of the Galaxy, but guess what? You went to go see all three of those movies. You didn't care about Captain America. You went to go see that movie. You didn't care about Shang-Chi. You went to go see that movie. There's a bunch of MCU movies of Marvel characters you didn't give a rat's ass about for the last 10 plus years, but you ended up going to see them. And what were you telling Disney? Disney's going, oh, look, we can make movies of any Marvel characters we want, and it doesn't matter because we got a brain dead audience of morons who are gonna watch him anyway. You're all going, what? Why are the MCU movies so full of stupid? Again, morons. These MCU movies have been full of brain dead stupid for years. The only thing is that you're either too stupid to notice the stupid, or you didn't care. Infinity War and Endgame, those two movies you all love so much, were all full of brain dead stupid, plot holes and plot conveniences and everything else. And guess what? You didn't have a problem with it. You told Disney, we don't care if these movies are full of brain dead stupid. We don't care if nothing makes sense. No Way Home. You didn't care that none of it made any sense. You didn't give a damn. But now all of a sudden you're going to pretend that now you care? Now all of a sudden you're bitching of the type of movie you asked Disney to make for you in the goddamn first place. There's an ancient Chinese saying, may you get what you wish for. Well, guess what, morons? You got what you wish for. And now you're bitching about it. It's too late now. That's what I mean by you are the ones responsible for the MCU being the way it is now. Because for the last 10 plus years, which you've all seemed to have conveniently forgotten, for the last 10 plus years, you were the ones shaping the type of movies that Disney was releasing. You were the ones that told Disney what you wanted with buying your ticket stuff. You all helped form what now, because you've classified yourself now as comic book fanboys or, fake comic book fanboys, suddenly you've relieved yourself of all guilt. Suddenly you're no longer responsible because you've changed the way you view the movies. Tough shit, morons. Tough shit, morons. You're still responsible because guess what? You used to be the casual audience. You used to be the general audience that the movies were geared towards, and they're still geared towards. Now that you've become comic book fanboys or comic book fanboys, now it's biting you in the ass, and now you're bitching. It's like, why are they making there's so many MCU movies. There's a glut of all these comic book movies. Gee, I wonder why there's so many comic book movies, seeing as how for the last 10 plus years, you morons bitching and whining about it went to go see them all. Disney's a business, you idiots. Disney's going, people are watching and giving us money hand over fist over all of these comic book movies. Should we make more or should we make less? Gee, I wonder which ones they're gonna pick, because with the MCU, just the MCU, every phase they released more and more comic book movies. And what did all of you bitching and complaining about the fact that there's a glut of comic book movies? What did all of you do back in the day? You went to go see all of them. You went to go see them. You told Disney, you can make as many comic book movies as you want, and guess what you're going to do? You're going to go see them. So Disney was going, okay, great. Every phase, we can make more and more comic book movies, and you morons are going to go watch it. Now, all of a sudden, they're giving you more comic book movies that you all told Disney that you wanted and you didn't care about and you were still going to go watch. Now, all of a sudden, you're bitching about what you made them do in the goddamn first place. Go fuck yourselves. You're all full of shit. You're all you're all idiots. And this, I want to get into the fact that the other problem with the MCU and why it's all your fault is how you're all full of shit. Now, this is probably going to take a while. It's probably going to cover there's a bunch of stuff I want to cover, but I'll cover them lightly. It's like, my favorite one. My favorite one is, especially when it came to the She-Hulk TV show. All of a sudden, you bullshit artists are going, why wasn't She-Hulk's origin faithful to the comic books? And how you were trashing the She-Hulk TV show because it wasn't faithful to the comic books, and how it made the show suck and all that stuff. Really, all of a sudden, you bullshit artists give a rat's ass about the character being faithful to their comic book origins. Interesting, because guess what? None of you gave a rat's ass that the Guardians of the Galaxy weren't faithful to their comic book origins. None of you gave a rat's ass that Drax or Mantis were faithful to their comic book origins. None of you gave a rat's ass that Ego wasn't faithful to his comic book origin. You didn't give a rat's ass that the Elders of the Universe weren't faithful to their comic book adaptation. None of you gave a rat's ass that the Celestials weren't faithful to the comic book adaptation. None of you gave a rat's ass that Ultron wasn't faithful to that comic book adaptation. Look, where was Dr. Hank Pym in the creation of Ultron? Nowhere. None of you gave a shit. None of you had a problem with it. But if She-Hulk wasn't specifically gunned down by the mafia, then it was unfaithful and it was a piece of shit TV show. Go fuck yourselves. You're all full of shit. None of you gave a rat's ass on how the Vision wasn't faithful to its origin. None of you gave a rat's ass that Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver weren't faithful to their origin. I can give you a dozen other characters that you didn't give a shit that they weren't faithful to their comic book origin. But now all of a sudden you're going to have this high and mighty bullshit mentality that, the She-Hulk TV show gets to be discredited because the character wasn't faithful to its comic book origin. Go fuck yourselves. See, that's the other problem. That's the other thing I want to rant about. There's not enough guys like me pointing out how full of shit all of you are. All of you are. Speaking of the She-Hulk TV show, here's the other one. I can never get tired of mentioning this. I can't remember what episode it was, but it was that episode where She-Hulk was twerking at the end credits. You all got your fake comic book panties in a twist over it. But at the same time, and here's what gets me. So many of you who are claiming that you're comic book fanboys, claiming that you actually give a rat's ass, in the same episode, had no problem with the Wrecking Crew being a piece of shit version of the comic book origin. None of you had a problem with it. But apparently, She-Hulk twerking and She-Hulk not being gunned down by the mafia, that suddenly was a big deal. Now, not only that, I want to cover a little bit about the woke thing. because a lot of you who are all on this woke rampage, right? You all have a problem with gender swapping, and you all have a problem with, race swapping. Two of the characters in the Wrecking Crew TV show, two of the characters, I believe it was two, were race swapped. Did any of you woke bullshit artists mention it, talk about it, have a problem with it? Nope. Didn't care. You know why? Because you don't know anything about comic books. Your knowledge of comic books is whatever you type up on the internet. You didn't even bother researching. You see the Wrecking Crew in the TV show. Four gangly little guys who are supposed to take on She-Hulk. None of you actually had the mentality or the idea to go, let me see who the Wrecking Crew are. Why? Because you didn't give a shit. The only thing you guys do is bitch and whine. You don't actually point out any of the stupid. You just bitch and whine and complain. Why? Because you're all about pandering to your dumbass audience that just want to hear you tell them what they want to hear. And in regards to the Wrecking Crew, you guys aren't even consistent in bitching about the woke agenda. There was an actual woke agenda in the TV show, in that episode, that you guys didn't even bother talking about because you don't care and you don't know anything. That's the other thing. Not only are you all bullshit artists, you're talking out of your ass like you actually know what the hell you're talking about, that your opinions and viewpoints actually mean anything. Speaking of woke, I love this. I know it has nothing to do with the MCU, but I'm sorry, I'm talking again. The bullshit just interacts with so much. The whole go woke, go broke agenda, right? Really. The Barbie movie. How come when you're talking about, because the Barbie movie was a woke piece of shit movie, but unfortunately it made over $1 billion. So where's all the go woke, go broke? How come you're not talking about go woke, go broke? I've been watching videos after the Barbie movie of people still bitching and still talking about how it's go woke, go broke, how the woke agenda is a problem, except they conveniently kind of ignore the fact that the Barbie movie made over $1 billion. That woke piece of shit movie made over $1 billion. I wonder why those of you spouting that woke bullshit don't mention the Barbie movie. Oh, wait, because it establishes you're full of shit. It establishes you have no idea what you're talking about, because guess what, you idiots? The general audience doesn't give a rat's ass about the woke. None of the general audience didn't go see a particular movie because it was woke. They didn't go see a particular movie because they didn't give a rat's ass about that particular movie. Oh, the audience is tired of all of this woke bullshit in these movies. Really? Then explain the Barbie movie, which was a woke piece of shit movie. Where's all your videos explaining how that movie made $1 billion? Oh, wait, you can't. So you conveniently don't talk about it. It's the same thing with comic book fatigue. I love your bullshit in regards to comic book fatigue. A comic book movie doesn't do well at the box office. All of a sudden, you know what the problem is? Comic book fatigue. Everybody's sick and tired of these movies. People are sick and tired of all of these comic book movies. Up until a comic book movie comes out and makes $700, $800, or $900 million. Then all of a sudden, guess what? The whole comic book fatigue bullshit line disappears. It's magically gone. Nobody's talking about comic book fatigue. Nobody's going, gee, I wonder what happened to the comic book fatigue. Until another comic book movie comes out and it doesn't do well. Then guess what? All of a sudden, comic book fatigue has magically returned. Until the next comic book movie comes out and it does really well at the box office. And then again, comic book fatigue is suddenly never mentioned, never talked about, never brought up again. Why? Because if you do, it establishes that you're full of shit and you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And not only that, then we got this criteria for how much a comic book movie has to make for it to actually be a success. Because and I love these two examples. I love these two examples because it absolutely establishes how full of shit you all are. Because you got, what was it? Shang-Chi and what was that other dumbass movie? Eternals, right? They made like what? Around $400 million. Oh, the audience is sick of these comic book movies. They didn't like it. The audience wasn't interested in these movies. None of that. Except here's the problem. In phase one, you want to know how much the first Captain America movie made? Didn't even break 400 million. Didn't even break 400 million. So according to your brain dead logic, the Captain America movie is a movie that nobody wanted to go see, nobody cared about, and it was a complete failure. How does that work, morons? How does that work? Because you're basing it on how much money it makes at the box office. Well, guess what? Captain America movie didn't even break 400 million. None of you are calling the Captain America movie a failure. None of you are calling it a flop. None of you are going, oh, apparently people are tired of comic book movies in phase one, apparently. It's amazing how it's amazing how you pick and choose when you decide comic book fatigue kicks in. It's amazing how you pick and choose when a comic book movie is a failure or not. You want to know why? Because you're all full of shit and you're all talking out of your ass. It's the same thing with, like, speaking of the TV shows, the MCU TV shows. Why do they suck now? Hey, morons, they've always sucked. The difference was you didn't give a damn that they sucked when they first came out. When WandaVision came out and Loki came out, you didn't give a rat's ass that they were full of brain dead, stupid, and sucked. But now all of a sudden you're pretending that you give a shit? Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right? Yeah. None of you guys complain. Oh, this. Not only does this establish that you have no idea what you're talking about in regards to comic books, it establishes that you're not even consistent in your woke bullshit, which is why I laughed at you about it. You all complain about the Flag Smasher character and her speech and her motivations. You want to know what none of you woke bullshit artists actually called out? That the Flag Smasher was gender swapped. In the comic books, Flag Smasher's a male. In the TV show, she's this young woman. Did any of you have an issue or point it out? No. You know why? Because none of you didn't even bother finding out who the hell Flag Smasher is. Like, there's literally no reason why you shouldn't have been making video after video bitching and whining about how Flag Smasher was a female and gender swap. Nope. All you gave a shit about was bitching about her agenda and her political views and how stupid the speech was that Falcon ended up giving at the end of the season. But I hate to break it to you, the MCU TV shows were always full of brain dead stupid. It didn't start with Ahsoka. It didn't start with not Star Wars. Sorry, it didn't start just recently. It's been same thing with speaking of Star Wars. It's the same thing with Star Wars. You're going, oh my God, Ahsoka is full of stupid. The Star Wars TV show suck, and Obi-Wan is full of stupid. Hey, what was the other one? The Boba Fett one. It's all full of stupid. Again, morons. They've been full of brain dead stupid since The Mandalorian. The only problem is that you were too brain dead stupid to notice the stupid or even care. You didn't care. You're bitching about all the stupid in these Star Wars TV shows, and you're bitching about all the stupid in these MCU TV shows. The problem is that they were always filled with brain dead stupid, and you told Disney you don't care that they're full of brain dead stupid. You don't care if the plot doesn't make sense. You don't care if there's plot holes and plot conveniences. So Disney kept making you the TV shows you kept saying were fine. Because again, the only thing you care about is good special effects, good action scenes, and a spectacular and big spectacle. And that's what Disney gave you. I'm probably going to get in trouble for this too, but Quantumania. Why the hell are you guys, all of you were bitching about Quantumania. Where the hell do you morons get off bitching about Quantumania when it's the exact type of movie that Quantumania is by the book, marking off every checklist. Those of you complaining about the movies actually told Disney that you wanted. You wanted big special effects. You wanted big spectacle. You wanted big action scenes. And Quantumania, to compensate for the fact that you were all bitching about the first two Ant-Man movies, did everything that you all asked for. And all of a sudden you're bitching about it? You give a shit about all of a sudden in Quantumania, you gave a shit that the story didn't make sense. You didn't give a shit that Infinity War and Endgame didn't make sense. You didn't give a shit that No Way Home didn't make sense. You didn't give a shit that a whole bunch of MCU movies didn't give a shit. That didn't make any sense. But all of a sudden, Quantumania is a different set of rules. I swear to God, sometimes I think that you guys flip a coin to figure out whether or not you're supposed to like or not like a movie. Because you have no actual consistency in regards to what you like or don't like. You really don't. I, I'm wondering, was Disney more shocked at the failure of Quantumania, or was the studio that released the Barbie movie more shocked at its success? I swear to God, I don't know what it is. I've been watching. I saw some videos. I love this. This is how full of shit you guys are so much. I've seen videos of people going, "Oh, I'm quitting the MCU. Oh, I'm done with the MCU," and they make a video explaining why they're against, why they're quitting the MCU. And then at the end of the video or during the video, we'll actually go, "Well, the upcoming MCU movies, I'm still gonna watch them anyway." They'll make a video. They'll actually title the video. This is how full of shit you guys all are. You'll make videos titling, "I'm quitting the MCU." Make a video explaining why the MCU sucks for you, and then at the end of the video go, "By the way, I'm still gonna watch the MCU movies anyway." You can literally admit that you're full of shit and not have a problem with it. You don't actually care that you're full of shit, because guess what? You got channels that are based on talking about the MCU movies. Of course you're still gonna watch them. What? I want to know the level of brain dead, stupid, moronic audience members you guys have that can actually hear you say, you're going to quit the MCU, and then establish that you're full of shit and that you're still going to watch the MCU, and you have audience members that go, "Yeah, I don't see any problem with that," because you're all idiots. You're all full of shit. You're all bullshit artists. Anyway, got out of my system. I'm good. I'm sure there's other bullshit, stupid that I could call you guys out on, but I think I've ranted on enough. I got out of my system. I don't care anymore. You guys can go back to pandering to your brain dead audience and spouting off your bullshit, stupid, and acting like you know what the hell you're talking about. Hopefully, I was able to articulate and explain why all of you bitching and complaining about the state of the MCU are actually at fault for the state of the MCU. And hopefully, I adequately explained to you how you're all full of shit. Because, like I said, somebody's got to explain it to you because ain't nobody else doing it. You know why? Because there ain't no money in it. There ain't no money in it. There's more money in pandering to your dumbass audience than just telling them what they want to hear. Eventually, I'm going to make a video covering the brain dead stupid of that dumbass Barbie movie. But there's so many TV shows I got to cover. Anyway, I'm out of here. See ya.